Time now for Viewpoint on Independent Radio The Point.
Now here's the host of Viewpoint, Lynne Cardozo.
Welcome to Viewpoint, a spotlight on community, leaders, and organizations making a difference. I'm Lynne Cardozo, your host, and on this edition of Viewpoint, my guest is Chad Butt. He is the Executive Director for Mobius, Vermont's mentoring partnership. Welcome, Chad.
Thank you for having me.
I understand that January is also the National Mentoring Month. So tell us a little bit about the mission for Mobius.
Sure. So Mobius was founded in 2003. And for the first 10 years, it was just a support network for mentoring programs in Chittenden County, really trying to raise the amount of mentoring going on for youth in Chittenden County. And then in 2013, when I came on board as executive director, we became Vermont's mentoring partnership. And that was with support from the mentoring community and supporters and funders, really wanting to have sort of a network that can work with mentoring programs around the state to have a common vision of increasing the amount of mentoring going on around Vermont for the youth.
You say that Mobius became a mentoring partnership. What was the change?
Besides the geographic change from going from Chittenden County to statewide, we took over some different aspects. There's funding from the state and from two foundations, the Permanent Fund and the Henderson Foundation, that gets granted out to mentoring programs. And we took over the granting aspects. So we grant out about $300,000 to mentoring programs to really just help them survive in the funding climate and have enough money to operate, but really to also push them to take on new things that they're looking to do, expand their program, bring on more youth and more mentors, but also expand their program offerings. So we took on the funding aspect. We really started trying to have a statewide vision for what we want to accomplish as mentoring programs in the state. The idea of working with mentoring programs to collaborate, to make sure that youth, when they start in elementary school in a mentoring relationship, have the opportunity to go on until they graduate from high school. So there's mentoring programs out there that work with youth from just elementary school age, and then programs that work in middle school, and some programs that work with youth from K through 12. So really trying to fill in the gaps so that we have a mentor match that starts in kindergarten or first grade. If they graduate from that mentoring program in fifth grade, they can transition on to another mentoring program.
How many mentoring programs are there in Vermont?
So there's about 150 different mentoring program sites in the state. So it's about 50 or so agencies, but those agencies make up about 150 sites throughout the state. So, for example, Everybody Wins is a mentoring program that's throughout the state. They're statewide. It's a literacy-based program that works with elementary school students, where mentors come in and they read with a child once a week for a school year. And they have about 26 or so sites around the state. So about 150 mentoring programs around the state that range in size from, one or two mentors in really small schools to 100 mentors in some places.
Are most of these programs under the umbrella of another organization, or do they tend to be their own organizations? How does that work?
There's a variety. There's school-based mentoring programs that usually occur at the school, and then there's community-based programs that happen out in the community, and mentors, picking up their kid, taking them to a baseball game, going out to the movies, doing things around the local community. And it's a variety of ones that are under a supervisory union, and other mentoring programs that, may be part of a prevention coalition or part of a bigger nonprofit like the Howard Center. But then there are also small nonprofits that are on their own. There's a mentoring program in the Upper Valley called the Mentoring Project of the Upper Valley that has 12 mentor matches, and they're an independent nonprofit on their own.
You were talking about kids having mentorship from kindergarten all the way through high school. How often does it happen that someone actually has mentorship for that entire period? It's
definitely the goal of all the mentoring programs. It varies really. There's so many situations that result with mentoring matches ending, from the youth moving to a different town, moving out of state, mentors moving as well. It's definitely the vision for all matches that we start and that are started in the state to continue for that time. But I would say, I don't know the percentage off the top out there for it, but it's a vision that we hope to have, and we really ask for mentors to commit at least 1 year or one school year, but majority of them really figure out that it's a lot of fun, they're making a big difference, and they're getting a lot from it as well as mentors.
You are listening to Viewpoint on this edition of Viewpoint. My guest is Chad Butt. He is the Executive Director for Mobius, Vermont's mentoring partnership. And Chad, how would you define mentoring?
Mentoring, I would say it's really at the core being a caring, consistent adult in a young person's life. Being there on a weekly basis or, whatever you schedule. It's, we look for folks to do it a minimum of 4 hours a month, interacting with their kid either on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. Sometimes it's an hour a week. Sometimes it's, 4 hours on a Saturday on a weekend. But it really is being that caring, consistent adult in someone's life that they can count on regardless of what's going on in their life. If they're having troubles in their family, if they're having trouble at school, they get to look forward to something that's just for them, not for their siblings, just for them. And that's the aspect I think really that mentees talk about a lot, is the difference that is made by having someone they can look up to and count on.
You've just described a child that might benefit from mentoring somebody that's maybe having trouble at home. But generally speaking, beyond young people who are having some difficulties that they might need support with, is there a type of child that will benefit more or less from mentoring?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that mentoring programs try really hard to make sure everybody understands, that mentoring is for every child. Every child can benefit from having a mentor. If you think about the time when you were a kid, who in your life was someone that you looked up to and really wanted to spend time with? Every child out there really is someone who can benefit from having a mentor, and the effects are similar on all kids.
And is there some way to measure the benefits?
Actually, Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership, which is where Mobius is a statewide affiliate of, has just done some recent research and came out with the mentoring effect in 2013, where they're able to survey youth around the nation and if they've had mentors and if they haven't, and what the benefit is. And it's been really great to see that research come out, since there hadn't been a really national research in a long time around what the benefits of mentoring are. From that, we found that youth that have mentors are more likely to go on to college, 81% more likely to participate in sports or extracurricular activities, more likely to volunteer in their community, and even more likely to hold leadership positions when they do participate in activities.
Have you ever been a mentor?
I have. I actually still am. I was a mentor throughout college with a mentoring program called the DREAM program that pairs up college students with children from affordable housing in Vermont and now in Philly and Boston. I was a mentor there. And then I also now mentor a 22-year-old. So it's changed a little bit on what I do with my mentoring relationship. It's gone from, hanging out and talking about how their school is going to now talking about what is credit card debt.
Earlier in the program, when you talked about the ages for mentorship, you talked about kindergarten through high school, and now you've just mentioned a 22-year-old. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so I'm actually no longer in a formal mentoring program. I'm continuing from being in a mentoring program with this young person. We built a relationship through a mentoring program, and as they aged out of that and got to beyond high school, we've sort of just become friends. So, it's grabbing breakfast with him before he goes and works third shift on a weekly basis, and sort of interacting in a more friend manner, though I'm sure there's still aspects of the mentoring relationship there.
If somebody wants to get involved with an organization or a program that is offering mentorship opportunities, how do they do that?
So the easiest way for anybody in Vermont that wants to get involved in mentoring is to go to Mobius's website, mobiusmentors.org, and click on the link, Find a Mentoring Program Near You. We have a directory of all the mentoring programs in the state, and you can also fill out an inquiry form, and we can help you find the best fit in terms of what age you want to work with, but also your geographic area and what your availability is time-wise.
You've described a few of the experiences that youth will receive from a mentor, but can you talk a little bit more about the different opportunities that are out there, specifically what mentors might be committing to and what they would be doing with the youth?
Sure. I think the big thing I want to get across too is that any mentoring program you join in Vermont, there's going to be a mentor coordinator there to support you and give you the training you need. So it's not going to be, here's a kid, go do something fun with them, hope they like you. It's going to be, 2 hours of training, making sure your background checks are done, introducing you to a child and helping you figure out what that child wants to do. Really, there's the school-based programs that you can do during your lunch break, and then there's community-based programs that you can work with within your schedule if, getting off work at lunch doesn't work for you. But there's a wide variety out there of what can work with your schedule. In terms of doing what you do with a mentee, you're going to find pretty quick that most mentees are going to express to you things that they want to do, things they've been looking forward to doing, but haven't had someone to do that with. So that may be just grabbing a cup of coffee with an older teen and talking to them about how their life is going, how the week's going, and maybe catching a Lake Monsters game during the summer. We have a great discount card called the Mobius Mentor Discount Card that's statewide now, and it's local businesses that offer discounts to mentor matches when they come to the establishment. So you might be able to go to Flatbread and get 50% off your flatbread with your mentee and sit down and have dinner and have the opportunity to eat at a place the mentee may not eat at normally, and also get it a lot cheaper.
You are listening to Viewpoint, a spotlight on community, leaders, and organizations making a difference. I'm Lynne Cardozo, your host, and on this edition of Viewpoint, my guest is Chad Butt. He's the executive director for Mobius, Vermont's mentoring partnership. What are some of the challenges that mentor programs face here in Vermont?
So I think one of the big challenges is the need for more volunteer mentors. The research I talked about earlier shows that 1 in 3 youth in Vermont and in the nation will grow up without a formal or natural mentor. So a formal mentor being through a mentoring program like we've been talking about, or a natural mentor being, a coach, a teacher. So 1 in 3 youth, or around 32,000 youth in Vermont, will grow up without an adult beyond their immediate family that they can turn to for support. So the big need there is really for mentoring programs to have more volunteers be willing to be mentors and be looking to work with kids and make an impact in their lives.
So January is National Mentoring Month, and I assume that incorporated into that is going to be some outreach and activities to try and promote mentoring here in Vermont. What are some of the things that are happening?
So January is always a big month for us, Vermont Mentoring Month, supporting mentoring throughout the state and really raising awareness during the month. So the easiest way folks can figure out what's going on in their community is actually by following Mobius on social media, on Twitter or Facebook, and also on our website, mobiusmentors.org. There's going to be a lot of benefit dinners and benefit events where at local restaurants and cafes to support mentoring programs financially. That's the other aspect that they really struggle in, is just having enough money to operate and grow. So you can find out what's going on our website for those events. But there's also going to be a celebration at the State House. We're still finalizing the date here as everybody takes a break for the holidays. And we'll be figuring that out in early January, but having a proclamation signed by the governor, having the House sign a resolution. So really celebrating mentoring and having an opportunity for supporters to come to the State House and recognize the great work that's going on around Vermont.
How does Vermont compare to other states when it comes to mentoring?
I mean, having a statewide partnership and having that many mentoring programs, 150 mentoring programs sites around the state, is great for a small state like Vermont. We have about 2,500 mentoring matches currently, and there's definitely need for more, but it's great to see that there's that many adults in the state that are looking to really make a difference and volunteer their time.
When you talk about time, you've mentioned as little as 1 lunch hour a week and as much as up to like 4 hours a week. And so what can you tell people about that commitment piece? Because I think that that's probably one of the great intimidations to making a commitment.
It is. And I think as with your daily schedule, when you have something you just routinely do on a weekly or daily basis, it becomes something that you look forward to and just it naturally happens. So if you can think of, we all waste time. If you can think of an hour out of your week that you spent watching a TV show you probably didn't need to watch, that hour could be shifted around and make a huge impact on a young person's life. So it's really, I think mentors churn out at first sort of are intimidated by that time commitment, but once they get to know that child and see the difference they're making, it becomes something they look forward to and they want to schedule it in their week, and they actually push other things out because they want to have more time with that child because it's a lot of fun to do.
When you think about mentoring experiences that you're aware of, is there any one story that kind of jumps out for you?
Yeah, I actually got a chance to grab coffee with a young woman who is now, I think, 22, who I knew when I was a mentor coordinator for the DREAM program. I met her when she was 12, and she had just recently moved to an affordable housing community in Winooski. And it was a tough move for her moving into the community. But when I talked to her just this past summer, it was great to hear her talk about how big an impact joining a mentoring program and having a few women in her life that she were in college that she could look up to over the 10 years she was in that program, or 8 years she was in that program. She actually went on to go to UVM where her mentors had gone and become a leader in the DREAM program at UVM and mentor youth in another affordable housing community in Burlington, very similar to the one she grew up in. So it's just great to see someone who benefited so greatly from mentoring, someone who got the benefits that we talked about earlier. She went on to college, she became a volunteer, she became a leader in an activity at a school, and then give back to the communities that she grew up in and have become a mentor herself. So I think that's one that sticks out in my mind, that I had the great opportunity this summer to learn more about and see how it really affected her.
You are listening to Viewpoint on this edition of Viewpoint. My guest is Chad Butt. He is the Executive Director for Mobius, Vermont's mentoring partnership. And Chad, you've mentioned the DREAM program a number of times. So tell us more about what the DREAM program is.
Sure. I was a mentor with the DREAM program when I was in college at Dartmouth. It's a mentoring program that pairs up college students with children from affordable housing communities throughout Vermont. So there's programs at most of the colleges that are substantial sized in Vermont, and they just recently expanded out to Philadelphia, but also are in Boston as well. And once a week, the college students go and pick up the youth in their community where they live and bring them back to the college campus to do activities. So it really exposes youth to a college campus and gets them to feel comfortable on a college campus. So that later in life, when they're looking, thinking about what they're going to do after high school, it isn't this big, scary college that they've never seen. It's, I've been going there for 10 years, once a week. I know college. I can do this.
You joined me once before here on Viewpoint, and you were fairly new in your position as executive director for Mobius. Has it been what you've expected it to be?
It's been a challenge, forming a new board and really looking to raise funds to make sure we're sustainable. But it's been a great experience. Going from being a program director to this role, it's great to see how many different models there are for mentoring programs around the state and how they all work differently, but all work and all make an impact on the youth they serve. So it's been great to have an opportunity to work throughout the state and not just in one area.
Obviously, the funding is very important, but what are some of the other supports that Mobius offers the programs and organizations out there that are actually offering the services?
Sure. So we work with programs that need trainings. They want to run a training for their mentors. They want to figure out how to have mentors set goals with their youth. And we're able to actually pull from the experience of other mentoring coordinators around the state so that they can offer those trainings to those mentoring programs. So there's a lot of technical assistance that happens. We have the database on our website of all the mentoring opportunities around the state. So we have a searchable way on mobiusmentors.org for volunteers to get connected to individual programs. We also developed a database so mentoring programs can manage their matches and track data better. And we're working to develop statewide surveys so we really can show how big an impact mentoring has just in Vermont, not only utilizing national data, but develop some statewide data down the road here.
Can the programs and organizations keep up with the data entry?
It's always tricky because I'd say our mentoring programs are, in general, understaffed. They don't have enough funding to really have the amount of staff necessary to grow beyond what they're doing. So they always are prioritizing the matches that they have and recruiting new. And it's tricky to make sure you're taking the time to do surveys when you have a kid on your waiting list that you want to match and that mentoring's working. One of the aspects that we're actually implementing now is a quality mentoring system. So helping mentoring programs make sure that they're meeting all nationally recognized best practices, because that's one way we can prove the research is out there that if mentoring programs run quality programs, the results are going to come from that. And so really just working with programs to make sure that they are meeting best practices so that they don't have to spend as much time proving that they're doing great work, because we know that the results are going to be there because they are a quality program.
What are considered some of the national best practices?
So background checks, making sure that you're doing the background checks on mentors, which our programs around the state are. Making sure that you have a policy and procedures manual so that some of these mentoring coordinators that have been doing this for 20 years, if they retire, if they move on, someone new can come on and just pick up where they left off because everything's documented. So anything from there to how you match a mentee with a mentor, what training is required, what aspects need to be in that training. And it's really just been a great process where I've been able to meet with programs around the state and help them tweak what they're doing. They're all close, if not there already, and really just figure out what's this one aspect that I need to make sure to get there, and what can I learn from other programs.
Chad, we're just about out of time here on Viewpoint, and as you have settled into your position as the executive director for Mobius, what's your vision for the future? Really
is seeing more volunteers come forward and really step up and become mentors for youth in Vermont. There's a huge need, as I mentioned before. There's 32,500 youth in Vermont that could really benefit from having a mentor. We're at 2,500. We're far, far away from that goal. And so I really would like us to see us close that mentoring gap down the road here and bring more youth into mentoring relationships.
What do you want to say to that person that's thinking about it?
You have the ability and the opportunity to make a huge impact on the life of a child, and have a lot of fun doing it. So take the next step and look at mobiusmentors.org, find a program near you, and sign up to become a mentor.
Let's make sure that everybody has your contact information. Again, the website
is mobiusmentors.org. You also can reach us on the phone at 802-658-1888. That's 658-1888. And also make sure to follow us on social media on Twitter and Facebook.
Chad, thanks so much for joining us here on Viewpoint.
Thanks for having me.
Chad Butt, he's the executive director for Mobius, Vermont's mentoring partnership, and you have been listening to Viewpoint, a spotlight on community, leaders, and organizations making a difference. I'm Lynne Cardozo, your host.
This has been Viewpoint on Independent Radio The Point.
Viewpoint is hosted and produced by Lynne Cardozo.
Tune in next weekend for another edition of Viewpoint.